Hi. How's everyone doing? Are we good? We're just completely fried. I'm Jamie, and this is Shari, and we've known each other for 37 years. And every month we do a live breastfeeding and pumping Q&A on Facebook, courtesy of Evenflo Feeding. So I'm gonna let Shari introduce herself and give you the rundown on her credentials and whatnot, because I'm just a mess. So, sharing the mic. Hot mic.
A hot mic. Hi everybody. Did everybody have a good time today? This is awesome. So nice to be in LA. We usually do this in New York, so it's great. And for those of you guys who don't know me, I am a registered nurse. I'm a certified nurse midwife. I'm an international board certified lactation consultant. I've known Jamie my entire life. And we've been doing this live breastfeeding Q&A for almost 2 years now. And it's such a great resource for new parents. You can ask questions, and we're actually streaming live right now, so we can say hi to everybody. Hi guys, hi everybody. And so it's just fun. It's fun, and it's brought to you by Evenflo Feeding. So we have questions to answer.
Yeah.
Does anybody have questions? That's how this flows. You guys have questions?
We answer them.
And ask us anything you'd like. So, and it can be really about anything.
Yeah. And we have, Shari, you have to eat the microphone. It's the only way to get projection in here is to eat it like you're a theme park performer. Six Flags. You have to eat the mic. It's a unidirectional.
I got it.
Okay.
Eat the mic.
Eat the mic.
Questions?
Yeah.
How do you get your baby to nurse if they don't want to nurse? Well, good question. There are, when you're talking about breastfeeding is not just as simple as put your baby on the breast and the baby's going to latch. For some people, yes, but for most people, that's not the answer. And what you need to keep in mind is that breastfeeding is more than just holding them in the right position. There are many natural instincts that your baby is born with that go along with actually latching and eating, which is the last part of it. So exactly what you're doing right now, okay, which is wearing your baby skin to skin, allowing your baby's natural instincts to kick in, is going to be the best way to get your baby to latch the breast. I get moms calling me, talking to me, they're in the hospital, the baby's really sleepy, the baby won't latch to the breast, what's happening? And then this just happened to me this week actually. A mom struggling to breastfeed, she had a C-section 2 days earlier, and when she sent me a picture, the baby had given her all this really good advice, she sent me a picture, she was so excited, and the baby was all wrapped up, swaddled in a blanket in the bassinet with a pacifier in its mouth. And I thought, now, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with swaddling babies, there's nothing wrong with pacifiers, but the point was, here's a mom who is struggling to get her baby to latch, and here's this baby who is nowhere near the mother. None of those natural instincts were being utilized to kick in to get the baby to latch, so I gently sent her a little text back, and I said, unwrap your baby, take off your top, undress your baby, put that baby on your chest, take out the pacifier until that baby's latching well. And she sent me a picture back, skin to skin. Okay, so that's gonna be my answer to you. And it doesn't matter how old your baby, skin to skin contact is going to encourage good latching. It all goes together if you think about it logically. Where was your baby supposed to be? If you were in a cave somewhere, okay, with no heat, how were you supposed to be with your baby? You're supposed to be skin to skin. All that comes into play together. So that's my best answer to you. Yeah.
How long can you or should you breastfeed? She will have her answer, but when I went through breastfeeding classes where I worked, the IBCLC that I worked with said there's no real time limit. It's as long as it is mutually agreeable for mother and child. Some women nurse 4 years, some do 3, some do a month. So
Jamie's completely right. There's no real answer of like how long, when's it time to stop? The time to stop is when you're done breastfeeding and your baby's done breastfeeding. But there is a minimum that we do recommend that you breastfeed. So if you talk about how long minimally should you breastfeed, the minimum recommendations are, exclusive breastfeeding for the first 6 months. And that means no food, no water, no formula for the first 6 months, just breast milk. That could be breast milk at the breast or pumped. Either, both are breastfeeding. Pumping and nursing are both breastfeeding. After 6 months, you can start introducing complementary foods to your baby food, table food to the baby, and continue to breastfeed till the baby's at least a minimum of 1 year. Okay, so when you think about the minimums, it's at least 1 year. Then beyond that, here's the misconception, and I think this is a good point to make, is that so many people will say to moms who are breastfeeding after a year, there's no real benefit to the baby at that point. You're just doing it because you're doing it. There's no nutritional value. There's nothing they're getting out of it. There couldn't be anything more not true than that. Okay? They're still getting the nutrition. They're still getting the antibodies. It never changes. So the immune protection that you're giving them from the very first month continues for as long as you breastfeed that baby. So there are incredible benefits to continuing long term. And so there are many people who breastfeed beyond a year, beyond 2 years, and then also do tandem nurse when they're pregnant and when they have their second baby. All completely fine and really pretty normal all over the world. It's just here that we don't see it as much.
Yeah.
Who else?
Yeah. How do you know if they're getting enough? Diapers and weight gain.
Yeah, breast milk is not a thing that you're measuring. Obviously, imagine if you're breastfeeding at the breast, and I say to you, make sure that you're feeding the baby 3 ounces every 3 hours, and you go home and you go, okay, and then what? How would you know? How would you know? So it can't be that we're actually measuring how much they're getting. That's actually going to determine are they getting enough? How much they get and are they getting enough are two totally different questions, right? Enough for your baby could be a completely different amount than for somebody else's baby. Enough from the first feeding in the morning, could be different than the last feeding at night. The volume changes and so does the calories of that milk because it's thicker, more fat. So how do we know they got enough is making sure that the baby is, one, satisfied at the breast, that they're not, continuing to be hungry after every single feeding. And that can be difficult sometimes because crying doesn't always mean hunger. And the second thing, like Jamie said, wet diapers. It's your best indication. If you want to quantify something, quantify what's coming out, not what's going in. 6 to 8 wet diapers in a 24-hour period is a normal, good amount to know your baby's hydrated. And if that much is coming out, enough is going in to keep them hydrated, okay? So that's the first thing, is the hydration. The second thing is we want to see weight gain, okay? So it's not just enough to be hydrated. We want to know that over time they're gaining weight, okay? A breastfed baby should be gaining somewhere between 4 to 8 ounces per week on average. And I say this because so many moms and dads are, you go to the pediatrician's office and they're putting the baby on the scale and they're saying, you should be gaining, the baby should be gaining an ounce a day. That's not accurate. Breastfed babies grow in spurts. So you really don't want to weigh every week. Some weeks you'll gain very little, some weeks you'll have a growth spurt and the baby will gain a lot. So after a month's time, you go in, you get weighed, the baby gets weighed, and you look and you say, okay, on average, the baby gained about 4 to 8 ounces per week. Good weight gain, okay? And as long as they're gaining anything, I'm happy. And peeing a lot.
Peeing a lot is good.
Peeing a lot is good. Good for everybody.
For everyone. I'm not drinking enough water today, so...
We just had this conversation.
We sure did. It's like sand. Yeah. She is asking about lip and tongue ties.
Yeah, this has become something that's way more, people have more knowledge about now than they did in the past. And I can see just over the past few years, more moms are way more aware, even pediatricians, nurses, of seeing those lip and tongue ties. And they can cause a lot of problems with nursing, things that you wouldn't even necessarily know that that's the reason. So you want to make sure that you keep your eye out for it, especially if it's genetic too. So if you have a lip tie or tongue ties, and if there's tight frenulums in the family, that's something that does run in families. So it's something to keep an eye on. Typically, the way that it'll present is that the baby will have a difficult time latching, staying latched, maintaining a seal on the breast, and the breastfeedings can be painful. Or there's really not much that you're seeing, but the baby's not gaining weight. Why? Because the baby's not really able to latch effectively to the breast to be able to drain the milk as well as you need it to be. So those are all signs that there could be a problem. Some tongue ties are really obvious to see, like you could really see it looking under the baby's tongue or the lip. Some are not as obvious, and they call those posterior tongue ties. That really has more to do with the shape of the way the baby's tongue looks inside the mouth. So you would need to be evaluated. Obviously, a good, an international board certified lactation consultant who knows what they're doing will be able to identify and diagnose that. A pediatrician knows what they're doing, and then it can be corrected fairly easily. And the sooner you do that, the better, so that you don't interfere with your milk supply or start introducing formula bottles because of a problem that could be fixed. Okay? Yes, hi. Yeah.
Her baby is swallowing a lot of air while they're feeding. Will they grow out of it? How do you fix it? Etc.
So this is a great question because it's such a misconception. You'll hear people all the time say, I don't need to burp my baby because the baby's breastfed. Breastfed babies don't need to be burped. And wrong. Anybody who swallows air. So if the baby is breastfeeding, bottle feeding, it doesn't matter. There is air going in with those.
You can't technically swallow without air.
You cannot technically swallow without air. That's exactly true. So the baby is definitely swallowing air. Now, a couple of things that makes the baby swallow more air during a feeding would be like an improper latch to the breast. Okay, so if the baby's not being held close enough, the baby could be in a position that they're swallowing more air. If you have a very overactive letdown, okay, so that, and what that is, a letdown is when the milk first initially ejects from the breast. Some people have it really forceful that if the baby comes off, it'll hit the wall across the room. I mean, that's how forceful the letdown can be. And imagine a little baby trying to manage that flow of milk as you start to let down. They could really be gulping hard. One of the things that I always recommend is watch your baby. The baby will typically latch to the breast and then get calm while they're nursing, okay? At one point, you may see your baby do a little bit of an arch or a pulling off or just even a movement of their body. That's actually a signal to you that they need to burp.
Do you need a doll?
He's so good at this. Okay, so here's what happens, okay? I'm gonna try to do this with the mic. All right, so you're latching the baby. Can they see this on the camera? Okay, you're latching the baby starts to eat, the baby's eating and calm, all right? All of a sudden the baby just starts to wiggle, or they do this arching thing, okay? Even if it's only a few minutes into the feeding, it may be 2 minutes into the feeding, but remember, that 2 minutes was when they got the biggest volume of milk during that letdown. You need to stop the feeding and burp the baby, okay? Some people with a lot of milk need to stop and burp their babies 5-6 times during a feeding. And if you don't do that, what's gonna happen is that little air bubble. Remember, when you're drinking a soda or a beer and you drink it and all of a sudden it hurts like you drank it too hard? That's what happened with the baby. They just swallowed really hard and it hurt. That's what made them pull back or arch or move. You take the baby off, you burp the baby, and then back to the breast again. Take the baby, and so you're not looking at the clock, you're looking at the baby's movements to see, is it time to burp again? If you don't burp, that little air bubble that would have been so easy to get out right at that moment now has to travel all through their intestines, okay? All that milk went on top of it, and it's gonna take a few hours of gassy and crying and all those things that we try to avoid that could have been avoided with a simple burp. burping is like the answer to so many problems.
It is.
I have moms who come in to see me or call me or message me, their babies are on Zantac, they've got reflux, they got this, they're crying. All it was is that they're not burping enough. And once they start burping, they come off all the meds. That's not the problem, it's the burping.
And a really good product if your baby's super gassy is this thing called Windy by Nose Frida. It sounds repulsive, but it's a little thing you put in their butt and it releases the sphincter and they fart, and it's the best. Do you need to show burping? Show your burping technique.
Okay.
Shari has a very good technique for burping, and there's actual logic behind it. So,
Okay,
oh my
so
God, this is...
I hate this. Okay. All right, thank you. Okay, so when you burp a baby, who's seen this before? Right? If I was to say to you, how would you burp a baby? This is the first thing that most people would do, okay? Now, when you need to burp, does someone need to pat your back? Do you say, here Jamie, I need to burp, will you pat me? No, because this is not getting the air out. And in fact, people get really frustrated when the baby's not burping. You watch some people burping and they get harder and harder and harder. Now, the baby is getting tenser and tenser as you continue to pat, okay? The key to burping for anyone, babies, adults, children, anybody, think about when you burp. How do you burp? You need to relax, get straightened up, and relax. Relax the diaphragm, and the burp comes up. So that's the same thing for the baby. The baby needs to be relaxed. Actually, the baby needs two things. The baby needs to be relaxed and not crying. Okay, crying, they can't burp. So relaxed, not crying, and awake. If the baby's sleeping, they cannot burp either, all right? So it's important not to breastfeed your baby into a milk coma and then try to burp them. You're not gonna get the burp out. You need to stop short of them falling asleep, take them off the breast, and get them in a relaxed and not crying state. Now, you take a baby, a hungry baby, off the breast 2 minutes into the feeding, I don't think you're gonna be very happy, right? So you need to do something to keep them from crying. The way that I burp a baby is not like this. The way that I burp a baby is I hold the baby forward. Why don't we just hold this? Take it off of this. Here, and then let's get it off of this.
It's a struggle today.
That's way better. Okay, so then what you're gonna do is take the baby, hold the baby underneath the baby's jaw, not around their neck, but under their jaw. I put a pinky under the arm like this because it stabilizes their head and their body together. Then I hold their butt and I move them up and down in this position, leaning the baby forward. The reason you lean the baby forward is that pressure from my hand is putting a little bit of pressure on the diaphragm, which helps to relax the diaphragm. The movement up and down, my sister's calling, how nice. The movement up and down is going to get the baby to relax. Okay, so this is the movement, not shaking the baby, okay, but a nice gentle movement up and down, and moving up and down is going to get the baby to relax and burp. If the baby gets heavy, and this is a modification of that move, because when you're sitting there with your breastfeeding pillow, and you just given birth, and the baby's now heavy, yeah, you're gonna get biceps doing that. Another way to do this would be to get the baby up and over your shoulder. So not here, but up here, because now see my shoulder is acting the way the palm of my hand was, all right? Now I've got that same pressure on their diaphragm of my shoulder, and now I can move my baby up and down on my shoulder the same way, maybe shushing, okay, too, and moving the baby up and down, which is gonna get the baby to calm down long enough to get a burp out. You get that little burp, and it's not gonna be loud. It may be just like this little, and that's it. Put the baby back to the breast. You may have to do that over and over again.
My arm is getting tired. You're fine. Any other questions?
Any online questions?
No, everybody, online, the connection is weak, so like, it's blurry and not a lot of people, so I don't care.
Okay.
So what else? Yeah. How do you avoid having a snacker? Okay.
Breastfed babies do snack. So to avoid a snack, when you say snacker, you mean like breastfeeding every hour, like constantly? Is that what you're talking about? Or they eat a little and then they want to eat more? That's actually the norm for babies, for infants, okay? The abnorm is to feed them, you know, big bottles, fill them up into a coma where they pass out and then they sleep 4 hours and wake up again. Breastfed babies are supposed to, babies in general, human babies, are supposed to eat frequently. Breast milk is very digestible. It goes through them quickly. They're supposed to eat small amounts frequently. It's what actually helps them to grow. It's what helps them to stay in the right sleep cycles. It's what helps you to keep and maintain your milk supply. Long stretches is not really what you want. But the best thing that you could do is to make sure that your latching and your positioning is good, so that your when you feed for those few minutes, it's really efficient. You're draining the hind milk, you're getting all the fat into the baby, and then slowly over time, what will happen is the baby will start to go longer stretches. To try to get longer stretches right in the beginning is not really even ideal. It's not really. So I understand what you're asking. The thing is that it's really best for your baby to be eating frequently. And, you know, that's what they're meant to do. That was what they're meant to. By doing that, you know, one thing I'll talk about is how do you make sure that you're making a lot of milk, that you're maintaining your milk supply? One of the ways to do that is frequently feeding. Keeping your breast empty as much as possible is what will help your body to make more milk. So many moms think, oh, well, I'll wait until I'm nice and full to feed the baby. Or I'll wait until I'm nice and full to use the pump, because then I'll get a lot out. It's the opposite. When waiting to be nice and full is actually sending a signal to your brain to make less milk over time. So you don't want to feel nice and full. You want to feel nice and empty because you're frequently pumping or feeding. The emptiness of the breast because of the drainage is what causes your brain to make more milk. She's got this look of like, oh.
Someone said I look real enthused by this. I actually am. I'm just tired.
Are they being super? Don't fall asleep.
Next. Did you? Yeah. When is a good time to pump?
Well, it depends on if you're. Are you talking about like if you're breastfeeding and also pumping? Okay. So she's asking, when's a good time to pump if I'm breastfeeding my baby around the clock? When would be a good time to pump versus like if I'm at work and I'm skipping a feeding and pumping, right? The best time to pump would be 2 times. Once is when you have more milk, so that you have something extra to pump out. That's usually first thing in the morning. You know, your milk supply is usually heavier, and all the moms are nodding their heads here saying milk is you're usually fuller first thing in the morning than late afternoon. Okay, you have more milk. So one of the things that I used to do, and a lot of moms I know that I teach and talk to, they'll feed on one side and at the same time pump the other breast. It's actually really great because it saves time, right? You have more milk first thing in the morning, and by the baby latching to the other breast, it's stimulating a letdown much easier to the breast that's not being fed on. So pumping while you're feeding is a great time. The other time would be about an hour after the feeding to pump a little bit. Now, don't expect a lot. You know, like if you got an ounce out an hour after a feeding, I'd be thrilled with that. 1 ounce, okay? So maybe an hour after the first feeding, and then you do it like 2-3 times during that day. 1 hour after the feeding, you're gonna have a bottle to have an extra feeding if you wanna go out. And it will overall increase your supply by taking that little ounce out. Remember, I was just saying, the more empty your breast, the more milk you'll make. So it will help with that too.
Speaking of pumping, insert plug here, should we talk about the Evenflo breast pump, Shari?
I think that is a wonderful idea to talk about the Evenflo breast pump. Thank you for asking, Jamie.
That's what I'm here for, apparently.
So this is the Evenflo Feeding double electric advanced double pump, okay? And I just said that twice, didn't I? Okay.
Go to town.
It's time.
I got it.
All right, so the pump is, first of all, I just want to say that one of the reasons why I talk about this pump is I don't work for Evenflo Feeding, but I've been involved with them for the past 5-6 years. When the pump was first developed, they came to me and they said, look, we want to create a pump that has all the features that you would recommend for your clients, okay? And what do you want in it? What would you do if you were going to design it? So when I sit here and I'm gushing over the features of this pump, it's because it has every feature that I would want in it, all right? And when I talk to moms and dads, and I've talked to so many today about the features that you look for in a breast pump, you know, there's a lot, it's confusing, and every day there's more companies coming out with more and more pumps. And how do you decide? Do you look for the pretty bag? Like, what's important? I always narrow it down to 3 most important features that you're looking for on a pump that this pump does have. The first one is that you want to make sure that the pump comes with multiple flange sizes included, okay? Not just that they're available, but they're included. This pump has 3 different sizes included with the pump. Now, why is that important? The flange, this part is the part that goes up against your breast, right? And your nipple goes inside this little hole. Just like everybody's breasts are different sizes, different shapes, everybody's nipples are different sizes, different shapes too. So not everybody's gonna fit in the same flange. And if the flange doesn't fit properly, if it's too small, if it's too big, it's going to hurt, first of all, with the pump. And it's not going to drain the breast. So this is a functionality. What do we call these? They're not
necessaries. Necessaries. I came up with a word. Necessary accessories.
Right. This is not an accessory. Okay, so even in the most basic model, we have the 3 sizes because you need to have the right size, right? It also has this awesome silicone, soft silicone, so it's cushiony. So it feels really nice on your breast. So, you know, comfort is one of the most important things for getting.
And it's also angled, so instead you don't have to lean over like this, and I speak from experience, obviously, but you can actually sit up straight when you pump.
Perfect positioning on this, okay? It's the angle of the flange. It's not straight. It actually, you can sit up. The second feature, so having them included, super important. Some pumps only come with 1 flange and you can buy, but you can't measure. So which one are you gonna buy? Some pumps, and these are the ones to really be careful of, come with 1 size and there's no other size to buy. Now what happens if you don't fit in that flange? You're out of luck. I mean, that's it. You're not gonna be able to pump with that pump.
Yeah.
All right, so very important. The second feature is...
You're gonna do these?
Yes. Second feature is adjustable speed and suction controls. 2 independent adjustable controls. Not 1 dial and a button where it's doing it for you, or 1 dial where you can't control the speed and suction separately. In order to get multiple letdowns, right? We've talked about this so many times. And if you're interested in how to do that, you can go to watch the videos that I've made on multiple letdowns. But that's being able to get all the milk out so that you get more than 1 letdown. You can have from anywhere from 2 to 10 letdowns in 1 sitting. Now, how do you stimulate that with the pump? You need adjustable speed and suction, 2 independent. So that's the other second thing, very important. And then the third thing, and this is probably should be your #1 question when you're looking for a breast pump, is the system an open system or a closed system, okay? An open system means that there is no barrier between your milk flowing out into the bottle and the tubing, and the milk can get sucked all the way back into the motor that can never be cleaned out. And it's not your fault, it's just the design of the pump. A closed system has a barrier, okay? Little barrier, very simple. It's a vacuum system. You put that on, you'll see this little diaphragm going up and down in here because it's creating suction. Milk's flowing into the bottle, it's blocked off from the tubing. You're done pumping, you take that off, you never wash that. It's clean, not even water. You just wash your parts. So that's probably your #1 question to ask, right? So those are the 3 things, and the Evenflo, I love it because it does have that, as well as like bottle holder, like integrated bottle holders and, you know, batteries and my classes. So I have 2 breastfeeding classes, full-length classes that I sell on my website.
You're good.
Okay. When you get the breast pump, you get my classes for free, so you get to watch breastfeeding. So there's a Simply Breastfeeding, which is a full-length breastfeeding class to watch while you're pregnant. Make sure you and your partner watch it together before you deliver. And then Breast Pumps and Briefcases, which is a full class on pumping, going back to work. How much do I need to pump? How do I store the milk? How do I have enough for my first day back? How much do I need for it? All those things are in the class, and it's free.
Any other questions?
Can we show them the
The adapter. Yeah, show the adapter.
I love this thing. I love this thing. Okay, so speaking of going back to work, storing your milk, right? You want to sometimes store your milk, freeze your milk. Evenflo Feeding makes these amazing freezer storage bags that I love. They have these cute little sayings that, you know, different sayings each day, so you can pull it out, little encouraging sayings. They have a gusseted bottom so that it stands up when the milk goes in. But then they made this awesome milk storage bag adapter, okay? It screws right onto your flange. And by the way, these are standard neck bottles and flanges, so that if you had another bottle, standard neck, and you wanted to pump directly into it, you could. You could also screw this onto other pump flanges that are standard neck. It will fit, okay? And then it has a little
clips. It has clips. So you clip the bag on, you live your life pumping into it, then when you're done, you take it off and you zip it shut, and you're not worried about spilling milk when you transfer back and forth to a bag or a bottle.
Yeah, and it's so easy, like it's really strong, but then it releases so easy so that you can just pull it right out and pump right into the bags. Question?
When is it good to go from a standard pump to a hospital grade pump?
When is it good to go from your standard pump to a hospital grade, like when you would need to?
Yeah, so you're using a hospital grade pump. And like I'm using a Symphony thing to try to get milk, but is that truly something that will help to get more?
Well, we also need to address the terminology of hospital grade. That's marketing. The FDA doesn't even really have standards and parameters set for what constitutes.
They actually do, but
they do now.
Well, the only real what defines something as a hospital grade, truly, is that it can be used for multiple users. That's it. Like a hospital grade means that it is designed to be used by multiple users. The pump itself has a barrier where nothing can get into the pump, so that when you replace the kit, it's okay to share the pump. Regular personal pumps, so it doesn't define like how strong it is, the settings. I'll tell you what works best is the one that gets more milk out.
Yeah, and that's hard to tell.
That's right. So does the Symphony have comfort flanges? Does the Symphony allow you to adjust the speed and suction separately so that you can stimulate multiple letdowns? Does the Symphony have a flange size that's working well for you? That's honestly, when you talk about like how strong is the pump, this mode, you wouldn't want to go to the highest level on any of the pumps. There is a point where it gets cut off, because at that point you're going to cause damage to your nipple. So it's not like the harder and stronger it pumps, the better your milk's going to come out. It's how well does the breast pump stimulate your breast the way the baby would. Nothing can be like your baby, but how closely can it stimulate the breast to cause those letdowns to happen, which are not about pulling milk from the breast. So I don't think there's really a time where you'd switch like that. If the pump is working well for you, then it comes down to how frequently you're pumping, and then what is the underlying cause and reason why you're not making enough milk, and is it really true that you're not making enough milk and not a perception issue that you think you're not making enough milk. Okay, so.
Inducing lactation.
Okay, there you go. So she's inducing lactation.
Everybody gets it.
Oh
Yeah. Awesome.
Good.
Yeah. It's not easy. It's not easy. You work with somebody, you need to work with somebody who really knows what they're talking about. No, that's not the answer.
Never give up.
That's not the answer. Not if you don't want to.
Anything else? What time is it? I don't even know. 3:40?
10 more minutes.
Okay, we got like 10 more minutes. We're pretty chill, so you can even ask things that have nothing to do with breastfeeding.
How long does the pumped milk last for? Great question. So breast milk is very stable, okay? It can last for a long time. It lasts for up to 8 hours at room temperature, depending on the temperature of the room. So in a warm room, I wouldn't go very long, maybe 4 hours. In a colder room, you can go up to 8 hours. So let's say you pumped in the middle of the night and it's nice and cool, 68 degrees in your bedroom. You could just leave the pump right on the night table and wait till the morning to put it into the refrigerator. It doesn't need to be refrigerated right away, okay? And in fact, everything that you do to the milk will, interfere with the properties of the milk, all the immune properties. So cooling it, freezing it, heating it, the less you do, the better, okay? But then you can, after that, put it into the refrigerator for 5 to 7 days in the refrigerator, okay? And then after that, you can still freeze the milk for 3 to 4 months in a regular freezer, in the back of the freezer, or in a deep freezer longer, 6 months and more, okay? So that's all very different than formula, and you need to be really clear, not only with yourself when you're storing milk, but with your care providers, because this is where it really becomes an issue. The baby goes to daycare, there are other babies drinking formula, and they know that the milk has to be dumped immediately. If it touches the baby's lips, it needs to be dumped. That's very precious milk that took you a lot of effort to pump. You need to be very clear about the storage of that milk, about how that just because the baby drank half the bottle, that bottle can get put back in the refrigerator and used for the next feeding. That's not the case for formula, so you need to know the difference. The cleaning, the storage, all of that is completely different for breast milk and formula. And one of the things that I always recommend is if you're going to do combination feeding where the baby's getting both, never mix the milk, okay? And use 2 separate types of bottles, so that the milks that they're getting, formula milk, they're getting in one bottle, your breast milk's coming from another bottle, because even the cleaning process is different for breast milk and formula. You're not sterilizing the bottles over and over again with breast milk. Her eyes just lit up. She's like,
bottle warmers that we recommend. There's actually one that's just coming out from Baby Bretza, and it's a water. It's really cool. I have one at home that I played with, and we just gave one away on Facebook. But it uses 2 different styles of warming a bottle. If you're doing formula, they do a quick version of it where it's steam, and if it's breast milk, it uses a water bath. So it fills up with water and it's very slow, but it warms it back up to body temperature, so you're not like overheating it and killing nutrients.
awesome.
Yeah, it's great.
It's great. Really good. You can also just take your breast milk out of the refrigerator, gently swirl it, because you're going to see that it separates when it's refrigerated, the fat and the water, everything separates. Just gently swirl it back together. Take it and take a mug with hot water and put it in the mug, and just take the chill out of it. The truth is that, and you'll hear this all the time, especially from grandmas, you'll hear like, oh, they can't drink it cold, it'll chill their core. You're not going to chill their core, okay? You can... I've actually heard that. Oh, I'm like, I don't even know what that means. The truth, yeah. So if you can get your baby to take cold milk, like cold breast milk from the refrigerator, that actually makes things even easier, because if you're out and you got the milk in a cooler and they'll take it cold, go ahead. You will not chill their core, I promise. Their core is just fine.
The only thing that chills your core is online dating. It makes you cold inside. Good.
Yeah, that will chill your core.
It's true.
Yes, go ahead.
Is it okay to use different kinds of bottles, or will they get confused? And
do you want to use different types of bottles? If your baby will take the breast and take every bottle out there, it doesn't matter. The point is that, you know, when your baby is latching onto your breast, they're latching a certain way, okay? They're latching with their mouth wide open. They're not doing this pursed lip latch, okay? One of the things I would recommend, and even this was news to me a few years ago, is that a lot of people will recommend for a breastfed baby to get one of the wide neck, like wide flat bottles with the short nipples on them, because they look like a breast, right? Those are not the ones the baby actually will latch to, this more like the breast. You want a nipple where they're going to keep their mouth more wide open. And so if you look at a nipple like this, okay, that's not a flat nipple, but the baby's lips can wrap around the top of this and they've got more of an open mouth, which is what you want to keep them. So what we're trying to do, if we're going to supplement babies with bottles, whether it's pump milk, formula, whatever, and then try to put them back to the breast, is to keep them in the right position as much as you can so that when they go to the breast, back to the breast, they don't have some weird habit of closing their mouth around your nipple now, right? Keeping their mouth open. So actually it's the smaller nipples like this where their mouth can stay open all the way to the base rather than a flat with a tip that they drink like a straw. Does that make sense? I don't know.
There's a lot of parts in the cleaning.
So for example, like that's what he's eating, the parts.
There's too many parts.
Okay, so I've got an Evenflo bottle here, and I'm not talking about their bottles, but just this one thing right here. Inside here, you got a vent right here. All those parts are included in this tiny little thing right here. What is a vent? It means that when the baby's drinking, the air is escaping, their cheeks are not collapsing, the bottle's not collapsing, all those things. The air is able to release while the milk is going in. It makes for less gas, and it also makes it easier for the baby to suck. That's right in the nipple.
And real quick, this is not like public knowledge crazy yet, but you know Born Free, the people that made those original bottles, they're not Born Free anymore. They're coming back with a brand new bottle brand called Be Free. And they're great. I saw them at ABC. So they're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't work with nipples and bottles that much. But what I do know, and it's not about the brand, it's about how's that baby latching, because my concern is, how's that baby going back to the breast after it's all said and done? You know, the point is that, you know, I know realistically, here I am, I'm a lactation consultant, but I know realistically so many of you are going back to work. You need to be able to pump. You need the whole way that you're going to be able to breastfeed long term is to be able to have an effective, good pump and a bottle that will not interfere with your baby going back to breast. So in my classes, I do teach introduction to the bottle quite earlier than you're going to hear from most people, because I feel like if you wait, many of those babies will never take a bottle. I think realistically, we need to be able to support moms so that you're not struggling when you go back to work, that someone else can feed the baby, and that you can pump with a really good pump that will maintain your supply. The end result is that your baby's getting breast milk for as long as possible, however that's delivered.
Yeah. So I guess this about wraps it up. We have a few giveaways, which is very fun. What all do we have? It's this pump and then this stuff in this bag. I'm like living for the mic situation right now.
Yeah, you can have it.
All right. We have some things to give away. Where did it?
Tin can.
Oh, but what do we have? We have a card. All right, we have a pump, we have a box of nursing pads, we have a 2-pack of the storage adapters, and then we have a thing of storage bags. So here you go. I'll let you pull those out and I will read them. This is for the bags. 5263872. All right, you better jump around.
Lauren, do I take him out of here? Hold on. Thank you. Congratulations.
Next, we have the milk storage bag adapters. 5263894. 5263894. Going once, going twice. Sorry, girl. 5263897. All right, Mama Bird.
Congratulations.
Next, we have a box of nursing pads. Keep you from leaking through your shirt. Fun fact, when my mom I have sisters 20 years younger than me, and before I knew better, when my mom would start to drip through her shirt when she'd see like commercials that made her cry, my sister and I would go, honk honk, here comes the milk truck. Because I'm an awful human. 526-3863.
Yay!
There we go. Someone has a sleeping baby. And someone's winning a big old breast pump.
Okay, so that's the advanced.
This is the advanced.
Deluxe
That's
advanced.
the deluxe advanced double electric.
You got the bag.
You get a bag, you get the cooler, you get the bottles, you get the pump,
And the
you get her classes. Get it done. (526-3893). 526. Oh yay!
Congratulations!
All right.
Woohoo!
Do take that pump and enjoy it.
Awesome. Congrats.
So our work here is done for the day. Thank y'all for hanging out.
We do this every month.
Yeah, we do this every month on Facebook. So it's very fun. We take questions in advance. We take them live. We have wine. It's great.
We'll be doing it tomorrow. We'll be here tomorrow too, same time. And then every month on Facebook. And then you can also ask me questions on my Facebook page as well. I do a lot of live streaming in between to answer all the follow-up questions on all of it. So it was great to see you guys.
Yeah. Thank y'all.
Thank you.